These are 7 things you need to know about the 2025 BMW S1000RR. BMW's flagship bike is updated for 2025 with a new quick action throttle, cooling brake ducts, and it keeps the unique styling cues and extends them, this time in form of a giant front wing. Love it or hate it, this bike is an absolute work of art. Now, I flew out to Almeria, Spain for a 2-day riding launch / event, with day 1 riding the F900R and XR out in the Spanish hills and countryside. Go watch that video if you haven't already. Day 2 was exclusively on track, and I sampled the S1000RR, this one, the M1000R and S1000R. I'll focus on the RR today, covering a few things you need to know about the 2025 updates to this iconic machine, as well as a little bit about what it's like to ride on track from the perspective of a relatively novice track rider like me. We weren't blessed with the signature Spanish sunshine whilst we were out there, and the beginning of the day was beset with torrential rain. Not ideal for testing a 210 brake horsepower bike with a new quick action throttle. Fortunately enough, the first session around track was a 20-minute affair with Chopsy and Joe Achilles following our lead rider to get the hang of Almeria circuit. And we were all in rain mode on the M1000R for a first go around track. Or at least I was on the M1000R. My session on the S1000RR was just before lunch when the skies were starting to clear and the track was slowly starting to dry out a bit. But there were still a few rogue damp patches to keep you on your toes out on track. Anyway, let's cover a few things to know about this S1000RR, or from this point onwards, the RR. First off, price. The base price for the 2025 model is £17,990, though, in true BMW fashion, you'll want to stick on a few bits to get the quote-unquote full experience. Colour options as standard are black, then you can get the sport grey for £385, as you can see as ridden, or the M package with sport colours for £5,010. That M package isn't just colour, it also includes the M endurance seat, carbon wheels and the Content M package. Further to that, you can add the dynamic pack for £1,285, the performance pack for £1,010, the carbon pack for £2,050, and the M billet package for £435. Also, there's a pillion package for £180 if you plan on taking someone around with you. And you can also add on an anti-theft alarm for £255, SOS call for £360, and all in, you can get to some pretty silly figures. You're at £28,395 without even really doing anything at all. You can reach £30,050 with the Akrapovic titanium exhaust too. And even further past that with other bonus accessories like the M brake pads, adjustable CMC milled M levers, various trim bits. Yes, it's pricey, but this would arguably be the ultimate sports bike. So, what's new in 2025? BMW kindly notes these key updates as follows. You get the new winglets, the engine meets Euro 5 Plus emission standards, you get pro riding modes now as standard, you get an M short stroke throttle, so that quick action throttle with 58 degrees of rotation angle, you get side fairings in the new design, and you get a new front wheel cover with integrated brake ducts. The refinements might optimise track riding, particularly that M quick action throttle, but inclusions of the dynamic brake control and pro riding modes give you some added comforts when, I guess, pushing the bike hard on the twisties at home. There's also engine brake and hill start control pro features, and I won't speak about the M1000RR if you were wondering, as I didn't ride it. But if you decide you need a little bit more exclusivity and outright performance, and money clearly isn't an issue, then the Carbon M will be whispering your name. Point 3 is power. Now, despite my novice track riding ability, it's quite obvious that this is one of the most finely tuned and breathtaking motorcycles that money can buy. With a noted 210 brake horsepower out of the box, peaking at 13,500 RPM, the RR has over a 1-to-1 power to weight ratio, and it tips the scales at 198 kilograms fully fueled. The inline-4 shift cam motor is 999cc, with 113 Nm of torque arriving at 11,000 RPM. Top speed, listed by BMW, is 188 miles per hour. Again, my experience was on track for about maybe 15 minutes, and I started off with more of a wet ride and getting into drier in parts on the Almeria circuit. I can't comment directly on the power and the delivery purely because I'm just not pushing the motor as far as it can go. But everything was so smooth, and even in the medium road-based modes, the delivery of power was exceptionally smooth. In the right hands, this would be an absolute delight on track. So if your name is Top Rack and you're racing in the World Superbikes, you might win the championship as well. The inclusion of Pro Rider modes also brings 2 new throttle map settings with a softer throttle or a more direct response as your options. Plus you get 3 engine brake levels and 5 ABS settings, and with those Pro Rider modes you can make tweaks to your heart's content. On the road, perhaps you'd only be tickling the throttle whilst riding along. But I guess in those smaller opportune moments on the back roads, you'd be having some of the best riding that money can buy. My next point at number 4 is the tech and the rider modes. Now, as you'd expect, plenty of tech is found here. You get more for your money in 2025 too. As standard, the S1000RR has ABS Pro, hill start control, 4 rider modes, rain, road dynamic, race. You get Shift Assist Pro, which is a quick shifter, and it now includes the Pro riding modes, all accessed through the 6.5-inch TFT display. It's 3 Pro riding modes to note. Optional extras are there as well. Of course, there's a pit lane limiter, launch control, dynamic traction control, quick shifter as I mentioned, the wheelie control, slide control, HSC Pro, dynamic brake control, engine brake control, DDC, cruise control, heated grips, brake slide assist. There's just so many electrical options here, some of which are found in the performance packs, and it all goes through a 6-axis IMU. You get a sports screen display that will tell you your maximum lean angle, amount of traction control used in that riding session, and the maximum brake force used. It's handy for making tweaks and also checking everyone else on the track day's ride to see how much of the bike they're using. Of course, all of this is tweakable and all of this is controlled by you, the rider, so you can make tweaks to your heart's content right at the dash. The rider modes give you a different feel from the bike depending on what you need, quite directly so as well. So the sportier modes are going to be more direct with perhaps a little bit less intervention if you need it, whereas the wet modes and road modes are a little bit more softer and easygoing. You get a 45mm upside down fork with adjustment potential for preload, rebound and compression, and at the rear you get a shock with compression and rebound damping plus adjustable spring preload, and it's all on an aluminium swing arm basis too. Other spec whilst we're there is 832mm standard seat height. Of course you can get different seats in the accessories catalogue. You get a 16.5 litre tank and 17-inch wheels with twin 320mm discs up front and a 220mm single rear disc. Braking power on track was more than adequate, stopping me from 120 miles per hour down to a slow, gentle cruise with no problem whatsoever. Naturally, where the track was a little bit wet in places, hammering over those whilst having a little bit of lean did intervene a bit of the traction control, and on the left side of the screen it shows you how much of that traction was used. Of course, this was nowhere near the full amount of traction that some of the other guys were using on track, like Chad and Dowdsy, who are phenomenal riders. But even then, it's great to be able to see that on the dash and then make tweaks to the traction if you need it. The new winglets up front generate more downforce too, so they're not just for looks. It's quoted as 50% more on the road, and it says from here, from the BMW site, 5.9 kilograms at 150 kilometers per hour, 10.6 kilograms at 200, 16.3 kilograms at 250, 23.1 kilograms at 300 kilometers per hour. Realistically, on the road, you might not really feel much going on, but they're clearly doing something, and the moustache is not just for show. Number 5, what about the rivals? Now, there are plenty of rivals, of course. Sports bikes end up being the flagships for many of the big players in the motorcycling world, and of course, they have got some of the best metal to offer in this category alone. So I'll name a few for you. The Ducati Panigale V4S is £29,995, has 213 brake horsepower. I've ridden this one recently, it's seriously good, and that's no surprise. It was updated quite drastically for 2025 too. You've got the Honda CBR 1000RR-R Fireblade SP. This one is around 23,499 and it has 215 brake horsepower. Now, I've ridden this one for an afternoon a while ago, so not quite the newest generation, maybe 3 years old, and it's a seriously good bike and it loves to be revved. You've got Kawasaki's Ninja ZX-10R, which is £17,671, and this is 210 brake horsepower. Now, I rode this for 2 days at Brands Hatch when I was at the California Superbike School, and it's a wicked bike. I really did enjoy that. And you've got the Aprilia RSV4 1100. This is £18,150. It's got 214 brake horsepower, and this looks to be a fantastic option. A bit of a dark horse even. Often it's thought of as the people's winner that is lesser seen on the road. So those are some of the fantastic options that are available brand new. You can also throw in some of the older models, you know, the Yamaha R1, the Suzuki GSX R1000, stuff like that. And you'd be 100% sure you're in for a treat if you own any of these bikes. But there is a lot to be said for the rising popularity of the upper middleweight options, like the Panigale V2, the Yamaha R9. There's a lot of options out there for sports bike riders nowadays. How does this BMW S1000RR compare? I mean, I haven't ridden them all. I wouldn't be able to tell you for sure, but this bike was fantastic, and as a taller rider, I did fit quite comfortably on it. So the RR is worth a go if you're a taller rider. Okay, number 6. Got Almeria circuit track notes on the RR. Now, the circuit itself is incredible. It's a beautiful circuit. There's loads of undulations, loads of blind corners, and you spend a lot of it on either side of the bike. It's a fantastic track to learn, and it really does allow you to really push the bike and push yourself. Some of it is a bit technical, but a lot of it is fun. I'll give you a brief run through of my experience on track. Almeria is an entirely new circuit to me. I've never ridden there before, let alone just seen videos on YouTube of riders going around there. I started out with rain mode. It was raining. It was pretty miserable out there for the first session, and I had about 15 minutes running behind Steve Plater to learn not just the bike but the track when it was drying up. And I was getting back to grips with my purely amateur track riding experience and know-how. Probably haven't ridden on track till this point for about 2 or 3 years. So I won't pretend I'm a pro, and this bike is ultimately far above my skill level, so my input on the bike does not correspond with the supreme levels of quality on offer. But in simple terms, it accelerates smoothly, rapidly. The control and feedback through the bars is beautiful, and there is so much of the customization on offer that you can really hone in your riding skill to match what the bike can provide. If you're after a weekend rider and a track bike combined, you really can't go wrong here. It has the power, delivery, the tweakability, if that's even a word, and that top rack style. Stoppies are not included. Of course, it was great fun to ride with Steve Plater on track 2, even though I was blowing out of my rear end towards the end of the session, and we did pull in a lap early because I was making some small mistakes. I was losing my concentration, and it was clear that my race fitness needed a lot of work. But regardless, it was great fun, and when you start to really feel like you're getting to grips with the track and you can understand what's coming up and where you need to be on track to get the most out of the bike and out of the lap times, it's wicked fun. And number 7, is the BMW S1000RR too much for the road? Well, yes, it is. But that's not the point. If you can afford one and you're weighing up how many bolt-on bits you can have and whether you need the performance bonus, the real answer is no. You'll never need this much power, let alone ride the RR to its full potential on the road. If you're trying to make a sensible decision, you wouldn't be looking at this bike in the first place. What the RR does for BMW Motorrad, as are the other bikes in this litre and litre plus category, is give them the opportunity and the chance to create a masterpiece. The styling might not be for some, but the tech and machinery going on here is nothing short of superb. If I could afford one, I would have one. It's a joy to ride, even at the 25% of maximum that I was riding it. And I even fit on it reasonably comfortably considering I'm 6'3", and sports bikes aren't the go-to for comfy rides in any situation, for me anyway. So yeah, it might be too much for the road, but it's also a fantastic bike for the money. And if you're looking at track riding, if you're looking at something that is going to wow your mates at the pub, then you should go for it. Now, just to convince my lovely girlfriend Faye that a 2025 BMW S1000RR is exactly what our baby on the way needs, particularly as a family heirloom. That'll be all from me. Cheers for watching, and ciao.